parties, political organizations, our sharing power with Al Saud, make people going to the dark side of the Saudi political system. Is the religious, people like Bin Laden, our organizations like Al-Qaeda. That's why we be happy to see the Egyptians and Tunisians, they away from the religious theories or religious political fanatical theories. They come to discover the freedom is to have your dignity, you have a country for you, and you share the power. This is what the new generation in Saudi Arabia look after. If they make pressure on them and they not allow them to participate or demonstrate or have their rights, political rights, they will go back to the Bin Laden and the other Islamic fundamentalism groups. The other thing, the Americans think about stability in Saudi Arabia. They think they need a strong system in Saudi Arabia, regime, strong regime. They don't care who rules Saudi Arabia. Is it king or president? They care about their benefits, especially about oil. The stability of Saudi Arabia, it will guarantee there is a oil flow to their profits and for their factories. This is what they think about our country. They don't think about people. They think about money and oil.
All right. Well, I want to put that point to Khalid Al-Maina in Jeddah. Khalid, how worried do you think Washington will be about what's happening in Saudi Arabia? The US will say, of course, it supports democracy. But let me ask you, will these strategic imperatives take precedence here? I mean, Washington, as Abdulaziz Al-Hamiz says, Washington needs a stable oil supply, and Saudi Arabia is, of course, a regional counter to Iran.
Well, I see we do not want to be used by anyone, whether it's the United States or anyone else. Saudi Arabia is a sovereign country. Yes, we have issues that have to be dealt with seriously from within. As I said, young people, bureaucracy, unemployment, healthcare. But I do not like to be sort of patronized by the Americans and be seen either as a supplier of oil. With America, while we are friends, there are times I think we should disagree. We want friends and not masters. So Washington is worried, but they're worried from their own point of view, as they were worried in Cairo when things were happening, because they were worried that Israel is going to happen and whether the Camp David treaty would be cancelled or not. So I think basically in the final analysis, it has come down to us, the people of Saudi Arabia, the government, and those in power. They have to understand that we have to have a complete overhaul in our view, in our thoughts, and try to recognize, because if we don't recognize that there are issues and problems, we're not going to solve them. So I'm not much concerned with what Washington thinks. Yes, going back to your question, I think they are worried, but from their own perspective.
Mayamani, to many observers looking in, this unrest in Saudi Arabia presents a big worry, perhaps. Well, hang on. I'm just saying that the unrest perhaps presents a big problem for Obama and the US administration. I mean, Saudi Arabia is a key ally. It's a big oil producer, as you say. But Obama presumably will be hesitant to make open calls to support the protesters, won't he?
When we saw the Bahraini security forces, of course, they used force against the people. We know that no matter how much the Obama administration want to see a stable Bahrain, they still had to condemn the use of force. Basically, America is, I'm sure the Obama administration are very worried about their ally, Saudi Arabia. They already lost one ally in Egypt, Mubarak, and this is their most important ally. The only language they can use now is pressure for reform rather than just advice for reform. But the truth is the Obama administration and this American empire is overstretched. They already have the problems from Afghanistan and still in Iraq. And there is nothing they can do to help the Saudi rulers from their own people.
Okay.
In the days, they could help them from Saddam Hussein, protect them from outside threats. But now it's the time for the Saudi monarchs to deal with their own people and find a solution so that they can survive this.
OK, Abdulaziz Al-Khamis, let's get a final thought from you before we go. I mean, was this a time bomb waiting to go off? I mean, is the Saudi regime in denial about what its people really want? Just briefly.
No, I think there is a time for the Saudi regime to reform itself, and I think there is a lot of people, they were especially inside the ruling family, they know exactly there is a problems and there is needing for reform themselves and their regime, and they saw what happened in Egypt and Tunisia and Libya. The problem is the Saudi people, they not most of them, they will demonstrate because there is religious fatwas against demonstration, and most of Saudis is religious. The other thing, they don't want to be the same like Libya. Saudi Arabia is same like Libya because tribes, oil, and weak army. And this is the problem that will face Saudi Arabia in the future if there is a unstable situation.
OK, let's get a final thought from Khalid Al-Maina on the phone in Jeddah. Khalid, can the Saudi royals preserve their throne, do you think? Can they embark on the reforms that we've been talking about today?
Well, I think yes. I mean, personally, and as I said to you, the royal family is the glue, or the government, or the king is the glue. Now, we have to remember also that King Abdullah, on a personal level, is very much loved, and I say it very openly. He's loved by the people. He would like to do a few things, but then at the same time, you have to systemize what one is doing. I think they will hold. I think people would understand there's a lot at stake. The country, I mean, is a large country with different people, even the cultures and the subcultures of people, for instance, from Jeddah or Qasim or the north and the south are so different. You need a pillar, but at the same time, you need a pillar that has to be re-anointed. You need one that really should stand. And also, the idea is to listen to people. And I wish the government would listen more, because by doing that, you come to terms for something that's going to happen in the coming few years. OK,
we have to leave it there. Thanks to our guests, Abdulaziz Al-Khamis, Mai Yamani and Khalid Al-Maina on the phone. And thank you so much for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. We, of course, welcome your comments and your suggestions. Please email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. From the whole team here, goodbye for now.
Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter. Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter.